To all of our veterans out there, happy Veterans Day.
Amen.
Sean, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. Yeah, I lost my father in 2007, and he was 82nd Airborne in the Army. So to him and all the other veterans and those that continue to serve, we don't deserve you, to be quite frank with you. And you guys deserve our love and then some. Thanks isn't enough. So yes, unbelievable the way that they serve us. And as in a fun, as Jack Nicholson said, we want you on that wall and we need you on that wall.
That's
for
right.
Sure. Men and
My
women,
dad
thank
tells
you.
this story. My dad, as a 15-year-old, was at the Polo Grounds on December 7th, 1941. The New York Giants were playing the Brooklyn Dodgers. A lot of people forget the football Brooklyn Dodgers back then. So December 7th, 1941, as a 15-year-old, my dad was at the Polo Grounds at the game, and 3 years later was in the Pacific Theater on a naval ship off of Okinawa. And my dad was the only person in his unit that came back home. The only one, because they made my dad a signalman on the ship. He never had to get off the ship. Everyone else perished. My dad didn't talk about the war much. I didn't ask my dad about the war much, but it was very interesting. When my dad passed and we were going through all of his stuff, we found 2 scrapbooks that his mom had made and saved every letter that my dad had written home during his years in the service, and was just so unbelievable reading these letters from World War II being sent back home. Incredible.
I love history, Grant. I do. I love our U.S. history. I love world history. I love reading stories or autobiographies. I like getting into from war heroes to what they went through that we can't even fathom. And incredible story about your father. And that's, I'm sure that had to be tough on him, knowing that his buddies and the people went in there and that, I don't know, man. Every day I think about them and what they have to go through. My biggest thrill all the years I was at ESPN was there 12 years. Is they took myself and Berman and Stuart Scott, and the war was going on. Then Stuart Scott, God rest his soul, Steve Levy, Kenny Mayne. There was and plus the production crew.
Right.
And they'd asked us during the difficult time, and the war said, no, it's, you always take the risk when you're going.
Sure.
And I said, I'm not. And I was married at the time, and my kids were all young. And when the boss at ESPN had asked us, well, the group of us to go, there was no brainer. I went and told my family, and she and they said, yeah, you got to go. You don't miss that. We were going to do Sports Center for about 4 days in Kuwait.
Wow.
And right there in the Persian Gulf where we stayed, but every time we got on the bus, we had to have 2 armed guards and the curtain shut. And we did it live Sports Center. So it would be at like 2 a.m. We'd go there for the time change, and we go and to watch them with their signs, like on college game day, and talking sports. And then we'd go play catch with them, out, and they were in their fatigues. And then you walk into the bunks, Grant, and you know how people sometimes think they got it tough because their bed's a little uncomfortable. My man, you couldn't fit. I mean, their bags are next to you. You couldn't fit a hockey stick blade. Damn, it felt like between the beds. You could, but I'm being a little hyperbolic with that. But it was, and you look, and they went forever. The bunk beds forever in the big, where they slept. And then we go into the mess hall and eat with them, and they'd have games up on the weekend, and we'd be talking. Said, do you guys really like when we're here doing Sports Center? They said, oh my gosh, we need sports. And I was just moved by it. Of all the things I'd ever done at ESPN, and my memories there were fantastic. I'll never forget that because it was during a war. And about, I don't know what Grant, how much is a click? How many miles? Do we know what that is?
I don't know
how they speak it. I don't either, but they'd say, 40 clicks or whatever that is away just down the interstate. And you'd constantly see them that there was a war zone, and we were fortunately removed from it, but you never know, right? And then we stayed in. Then then you go to the hotel in the Persian Gulf. You could see the bottom. I mean, it was so weird that here's the Persian Gulf where we stayed in one part, and just a handful of miles away, there's a war going on, and we're in Kuwait visiting them there in their fatigue. It was moving for me, and I would have never missed that for whether the risk or not. It was worth every second of it, and to see what they go through. And was honored to be a part of it. It was the greatest honor I had in 12 years at ESPN. But those guys go through it every day, so it's nothing new for them. But it was sure, and listen to my dad tell stories, but it was sure new for me to see what they must go through, and it'll sure help you shut your mouth about complaining, Grant, when you come home. I can tell you that if you think you were dealt a bad hand, go over there and deal with it. You know, it's hot and they're in their fatigue. It's just all the things that we take for granted. Yep. Not all the time, but sometimes that the little things are like, damn, just every single day they wake up, they never know what that day is going to be. Yep. When I was there, but it was a thrill for me. So yeah, God bless our military and our veterans.
Amen to that. We salute our veterans. Hey, before we go on and talk about some of the new players, not old players with their teams, Cam Newton and Odell Beckham, I'm really impressed. And I'm not saying this, you don't ever pat yourself on the back, but I'm going to do it for you. The sock drive that you've continued to do. And now as we get ready to start the holiday season, your community is pretty amazing, just from memories, but already getting off to a great start. Can you just talk a little bit about what that's all about?
Yeah, Grant, I shared the story with you about the gentleman, Russell Brissett, that I picked up on the freeway on Christmas in 2000, Christmas Day, it must have been 2014. And he lived with me. Long story short, for people haven't heard, I was feeling sorry for myself on Christmas Day because I saw my kids the night before. I was driving back to Houston and picked up a man walking along the highway, and a year and a half later, he was still living with me. He was homeless, and we got him new teeth. He didn't have any ID, had lost it all, and he moved in with me in a matter of days. I said, just come live with me. And I thought it was going to be a few days, and lo and behold, we became friends, and he stayed with me for 16, 17 months. Got reconciled with his family, new teeth, no drugs, job, ID, birth certificate, and he changed my life. I thought I was compassionate until I met him, and knowing once again, I said, what were you going to do if I didn't pick you up? Because I was just going to go. He was getting those daily jobs at Home Depot. He was 59, 60 at the time. And I said, well, you're going to come stay with me. I'll take you there tomorrow. Long story short, we became friends. And while I know that people think, well, you changed his life, Sean, the impact he made on me just to know, and the trust factor that, man, I thought I was compassionate, but this stuff, and people were like, well, are you afraid he's going to kill you in the middle of the night? I said, no. I said, there's a reason why I turned back around on the freeway and drove back 12 miles. There was to come back and pick him up after I went by because I didn't want to be bothered. And he wasn't expecting me to pick him up. So I've always had an affinity. I'm a sucker, and I don't mean this in a bad way, for the homeless and those who, well, because I know what rock bottom looks like. And at times I've slept in a truck, and I had been through that. And he reiterated to me that, you know what? Homeless isn't what people think it is. It's the person sitting next to you that you think isn't, or I'm just telling you, Grant, I learned a lot, and I studied it when I got him, and I went to homeless shelters. The person standing next to you, and maybe the person at the restaurant that you feel like, we know people that are panhandlers. I get all that. And some of them want to be homeless. They don't want to, you know what I mean? But I learned a lot about homeless, and it struck me and when I think about the cold or the extreme heat, it always, I get choked up thinking about it because because I know it's a huge problem in our country and across the world, and it bothers me, you know, and I can't change it. I tried. I know one person doesn't matter, but if I could take them all in, I would. But I'm a sucker and compassionate for those that are sleeping on the street. And I know some of it's self-inflicted, Grant, but his wasn't, right? Drugs, and went through a hard time, and people turned their back on him, and he needed somebody to love him. And we became great friends, and he changed my life. But so in the process, what I learned through this is sock drives. When you ask people that run shelters, they don't socks. The simple thing of putting them on your feet, right? Keeping your feet warm, jackets and all that. Now, so I keep a bunch of stuff in my truck all the time in case I go by. But we ran a sock drive. I got about in Bombas socks. You know, you see the commercial from them. And the community, the last time I did it, rallied. And I'm telling you, Grant, in 2 weeks I had 2 weeks to 3 weeks. Within a month, I had 15,000 pairs of socks.
Wow.
So you take them, and then they're forever grateful at these shelters because socks are, you know, oh yeah, people don't think about socks, right? We just don't. And if the feet are cold, the rest of the body's miserable, right? And so, you know, we'll take whatever you can. And so we turn those in, and so try to do it again. And then COVID hit, and that made it a little more difficult the second year. So we didn't do it. And now we're back, and people are dropping off 500 pairs. I had people sending them from out of country. I had people just from social media. So really, I'm a small part of it. You bring it up, and we're going to give them to people in homeless shelters, and I guarantee you by Christmas time, we'll have 25,000 pairs of socks. And we put them together, box them up, take them. We delivered them ourselves to the shelters that needed them. And you never realize how much it is. And like I said, I'm a real spot. Listen, you want to know how to do charity and take care of homeless, Mattress Mac in our town will do that. But my life was changed by housing a homeless man, Russell, for 16 months. And I'll never, ever take that for granted again. And having slept in my truck for a while and knowing what that is when you go through your rock bottom, I'm not the guy who's the guy who, forget them. They're homeless for a reason. I know that some are, but I just can't do it. And I'm not inconvenienced by a homeless person. Let's just put it that way. It matters to me, and these socks matter. So thanks for bringing it up. And if anybody, it's on Twitter. It's a pinned tweet at the S. Salisbury Show, Sean Salisbury Show on Twitter, and I'll continue to retweet it. But the socks make a difference, and they need them. There's not enough of them. So I'll continue to do it, and anything else I can, Grant, to try and help them. But homeless is a special place for me because it affects so many of our own in our own country. You know what I mean? And you can't house them all, I guess, but if I could, I would.
Your story about Russell on the side of the highway, when you first came on my podcast and told me that,
yep,
was it makes your hair stand up on the back of your neck. And I didn't ask you this that day, but I'm listening to you again talk about how he changed your life. And I've gotten to know you, and I know what you stand for and what you're about. What do you think it would have been like had you not turned around and you kept on driving? Do you think you would have wondered about what happened to that man on the road for a long time? And do you think it would have eaten at you? Because I know you, and I know you think you can make a difference in the world with everyone. And I love your attitude. And that's one of the reasons why I respect you so much, because you have a genuine, it's not bullshit. It's genuine, man. It's genuine. You ever wonder what
every day
your thought process would have been if you had just kept driving down the road and not pulled over? Or after you met Daryl, you started to move forward, and then you stopped and came back. You gave him $100 bill, right? And you then had him get in the vehicle. I just wonder what would have gone through your mind and how long it would have lasted in your mind.
Yeah, I can tell you, and I appreciate the compliment. And I can't fake this, my feelings about the homeless, because it does matter to me. Listen, I've fucked up many a day in my life, trust me.
Mm-hmm.
But I know two things I've done good. Three things. I've been a good son. I've been a good father. And I think I care about people a lot. I do. And sometimes I screw it up along the way, but I try not to. With this, I can tell you how I'd have felt. Because even though he's not here anymore, I know he's reconciled and he's doing well back in Missouri. I think about him every day. And saying his sister will contact me, and he will. I saved a voicemail from him just because in case something were to happen, I want to hear his voice. I did, Grant. And you know what I think about? Well, what would have happened? Because he was going to go to Katy, Texas and sleep under a tree in a sleeping bag for a few months until it got cold again and then go back to Missouri. He hitchhiked across the country. It was Christmas Day. He was walking up or down I-45. I went by him a dozen miles and came back. And I can tell you how I'd have felt. Because to this day, I've driven by a few people since then. And I wonder then. And I don't know I don't know if he'd be alive, if he would have got back on drugs, because he had 4 teeth in his head when I picked him up. 4. And he wasn't on drugs. So I said, you're going to move into my home. There are a few rules. And Grant, this was about, a month before I had to go to the Super Bowl. I had picked him up in December, right? Oh, yeah, about a month away. And I had spent 8 days at the Super Bowl. Do you know I left my keys and I left my whole place to him?
Wow.
And I left, and I could have come home to an empty place. I came home, and it was a place clean. Not one thing was out of place. And the money I left on the counter, and he kept a receipt. I said, man, here's some money. I loaded up the refrigerator with groceries, everything. And I got him one of those flip phones, burner phone, just so he could have. Not a burner phone so he could have a fake Twitter account, but and he loved talking baseball. And I think about it every day. I think, well, would he have been dead? Would he have paid it for? What would have happened to him? Would he have been reconciled with his family? And because of the drugs that he had done in the past, And I found a dentist, and he put a whole head of, and his self-esteem went through the roof. His teeth, white, beautiful teeth. And, my kids loved him, Grant. He was part of Christmas the next year.
Right.
And my kids are still, hey, Dad, we called him Rusty. His name's Russell. And he became like family, man. I know it sounds weird, but it was, I took a flyer, and I would have felt, put it this way, Grant, had he have been a bad guy and come to my place, and I would have had to get rid of, say you can't live here.
Right.
Had he have been a bad guy and stolen from me and done all that, I would have felt better about that than had I passed him and not gone back. Because I drove by him and drove for about 15 more minutes. And on my drive back to come back around on I-45 heading back towards Dallas, I thought, doggone it, man. John, I hope somebody else will pick him up. I told you that. And I had to go back onto the underpass, and he's still walking. And I tried to stop 2 different times, at a truck stop and then at a hotel outside. And they said, well, you got to get inside the loop, because he needed a place where he could get on the bus every day. I said, just come to my place. I'll take you to the inside. We call it the loop in Houston, where the bus runs.
Right.
And the rest was history. 16 months later. And he didn't have an ID, no driver's license, no birth certificate, no social security. And we went through the whole process with some help. And I would be, and you know how obsessive compulsive I am about stuff like that. And care. I honestly would have carried it around as a burden. Think, Sean, you pray and ask for help, and you look for answers. And when somebody presents you with the answers, you drove by it. You passed up because you were selfish. You were self-centered. You didn't want to be bothered. That's how I would have felt. And it would have, I don't know if haunted is the right way, but it would have bothered me. Because there's times I'll see guys now, and I'll drive by, and there's one that was in there, and I only had like $1. And Grant, I actually drove home. I didn't have any cash. And I didn't have my credit card. It was just my driver's license with me. Went home, got my wallet, went to the ATM, got some money, and drove it back to a guy who was just under the freeway, because something told me this, and he had a dog with him, and I wanted to, and I went and got a bunch of dog food and blankets so the dog could eat. Not because I need a pat on the back. The truth is, I do it more for me. I really don't. But there's this feeling of, not that I want a pat on the back, that okay, Sean, you were presented with an opportunity, and I'm a God-fearing man. I'm not a guy who's going to throw a Bible in your face, but I do believe in that. I do believe we're presented with opportunities in life, and I know my personality, and you know it too, and you hit it. I would have carried that regret my entire life.
Yeah,
my entire life, because I do carry that kind of stuff around with me. But I've done a few good things in my life, being a dad. So that's one of the best things I've ever done. It's the best. There's no part of my career that I felt like I ever did better than taking him in and making a difference in his life. And it's emotional to me, because I know what he did for me, because I was coming off sleeping in my own truck just a year and a half before I met him.
I just love hearing this story and these type of stories as we get ready to get into the holiday season, because I think that this country, and I'm 62, you and I are pretty much the same generation, is so messed up right now. And, I just finished doing a podcast, which is going to air tomorrow. And I talk a lot about LeBron James, who I announced his first ever NBA game. I narrated his first ever Nike commercial as an NBA player, along with Michael Jordan. Those are the 2 best players that I've ever seen play. And I absolutely admired and loved announcing a game every time that he was on the floor. But I've lost so much respect for him as a person because of what I feel is his very irresponsible tweets, because he has over 50 million followers on Twitter. But what I did today on my podcast was read responses from people with blue check marks, meaning, for the people that don't know, that means they're verified. And there's so much venom, there's so much hatred, there's so much bad stuff in our country. And I would like to think that we're moving closer together as a country, but we're not. We're going further and further away. And so when I look at things on social media, like about a sock drive or what other people are doing, and I used to say this on my radio show all the time, we would get into, sometimes debates, and someone would call up and yell at me about something that has nothing to do with sports. And I would say, hey, stop. What is it? What have you done to make your community better? And I'm awfully met with silence. I'm so tired of people bitching and complaining all the time, and yet they don't do anything about it. They don't do anything to make their neighbor's life better. They don't do anything about what's going on in their own city, in their own community. And you know what? It doesn't take money. You don't need money to make your community better. You know what you need? You need a little effort, ingenuity, and you need desire. You need to say, you know what? I'm going to make someone's life better today. It's easy. It's simple. And you don't have to go to your ATM machine. You don't have to go to your bank account. It's simple. And I don't mean to be going off on a tangent here, but I'm so tired of the complaining in this country. And I read, and again, I don't really think what we read on Twitter is necessarily real life, but it's just so damn disturbing. And that's why I wanted to talk to you about this stuff today, as we kind of kick off the holiday season here in a little more than a week. So you know what? Hats off to you for doing what you're doing. But I hope that we can put the message out there. Hey, make a little effort. Help somebody, make somebody else's life better this holiday season. It doesn't take a lot.
My brother told me years ago, he said, whatever you do, my older brother's filled with wisdom. Our boy Lamb loves my older brother, right? Uh-huh. He's funny. You would love him. You'd be crying, laughing. He's great. But his heart is filled with service, right? Service to others. He's not a millionaire, but he cares about people. And I'm not getting sucked into social media's negative, Grant, anymore. I'm just not. I made a concentrated effort that when you say something bad, now we'll all fight back and banter about sports, but when it gets to personal stuff, I'm just, have a great time, Rise. I'm not doing it. I won't, because while it may not be society, Grant, you know what it does? It makes us think it's society.
Great point.
And it bothered. And I'll be on another thing. I don't want to know who to dislike, because the more I read, the more I'm like, that's not my type of person, because I can promise you this. And this goes for everybody. I don't know when your rock bottom's coming down the pike, or when you're going through your thing, not you, but any of us. Sure. But it comes. You're losing a family member, changing jobs, moving, people who had a miscarriage. I'm not wishing it. I'm just telling you, everybody's going through something today. When they open everybody's got something. Now, we look at money and stars, but even those stars with money, there's certain things they can't buy, man. They can't. And it's not just blue check marks, it's all of us. You don't need $5, you don't need $500 million. And if you have somewhere in between, that's great. But you know what? I know every now and again, I'll never, ever, Grant, I can't remember 55 million things I said on TV. But I do remember the way that Dan Patrick treated me. I do remember the intern who came in and sent me a message after and said, thanks so much for taking the time to spend with me and treat me like I was you know what I'm saying? Those things matter to me more than any Emmy award. Now, I'd love to win it all, but I do. And it's not, like I said, it's not a pat on the back. And hell, I can make a far bigger difference than I do, but I made a concentrated effort when I came out of my feeling sorry for myself and my troubles, and realized that, you know what, through that story, and when my book comes out, I'm hoping the motivation and the kindness part of it, without being cheesy, but the kindness and the ups and downs of fun stories and uplifting, that somebody who's going through theirs is like, damn, he went through all that in 1 year and 18 months, and he can overcome it. And there's far people more gifted than I am, stronger than I am, but I'm not letting, social media is not going to dictate how I treat people. It's just not. Even if they treat you poorly, I'm just not doing it. And listen, my personality is a football guy. I want to react and fight back. I do, but you're great. You're so correct. I don't think people understand, and we've all said them, man. Regret words that we said, or a tweet, and you're like, dude, why was I that mad? Why over a stupid quarterback decision, or a stupid who won the game, or they disagreed with me. And politics is the great divider, religion, politics. Sure. But I'm not willing to lose friends. And I've said I'm not willing to lose friends by being an angry, hatred person. I'm not willing to lose friends over politics. And we have talked about this. I'm not going to allow, now if they want to go away, but I'm not willing to lose friends over being mean and angry and hatred, and spewing hatred. I'm just not willing to do it. But I'm also not willing to kiss your ass if you're a person who does that to others. I'm just not, I don't need friends. If my circle gets smaller as I get older, and I'm okay with that. And there's so many great people on social media, right, Grant? People who support, there's so many friggin' great people. Yes. There is. And unfortunately, they get bogged down by all the bullshit that goes on. So my brother told me a long time ago, with his wisdom, he said, always be a truck, not a trailer. And while, it's been, you think, well, okay. Now, we all need pulled once in a while. We
Yes.
all got to be pulled once in a while.
Yes.
But the majority of the time, when possible, be a trailer, be a tractor or a truck. Don't be a trailer. Be the person who pulls the person along with you. And
I
so
love
I've
it.
learned it. I'm not real good at it, but I'm sure trying. I can tell you
You're
that.
damn good at it. I really appreciate it. That's just a great 25 minutes. I got to make the segue now because I do want to get your opinion. There's some really interesting signings. I want to start with Cam Newton going back to Carolina, and this could all work. This could be just an amazing comeback story. This could just be wow. This could be Cam running off into the sunset if it all works out. I was surprised to see the news. What did you think of it?
Yeah, me too. But you know what? It's amazing. Speaking of, you mentioned a comeback story. Maybe this is a new, rejuvenated, healthy guy. Had some time off and his mind's clear, new coaching staff. Not that he didn't like the previous one, but that second time around, it's like, and I don't mean this, a marriage. Sometimes the first one doesn't work and the second one's better. Sometimes, and
Right.
he had a pretty good first one. MVP, got him to the Super Bowl. Now he's going to be well coached. He's, as a matter of fact, he's going to be as well coached at that. I mean, North Turner was really good at that when, but he's going to be well coached by Joe Brady and the rest of it. But here's the thing. Sam Darnold now, he's going to have to find himself. I mean, he's there, but I'm telling you right now, Grant, he's got to stop throwing the ball to the other team. And I'm a big Sam Darnold supporter, but he's opened the door, not only with being banged up, but trying to be a hero. Sam's got an enormous talent. And Sam Darnold, if he'd have performed well, Grant, when healthy and not like he did the first 4 games and it sustained it, Cam Newton would not be playing for Carolina. But the door was open. Cam's going to kick it open, and he's going to play. You and I both know that. While surprising, yes, because some guys don't want to go back to where they originally started, and some do. Usually it's reserved for the retirement party, right? But Cam still thinks there's a lot of football in him. I'm actually anxious to see what kind of hunger and leadership he provides for them. But I think it'll probably feel like home to him. I think it's a smart move by Carolina. Darnold's got a lot of fixing to do for him to gain that trust back in his career.
I don't know if you can see this, but this is our buddy Jay in Sacramento. The Socks.
Man.
He just said 62 pairs of socks headed to Texas. Keep up your great work. Coming from California, 62 pairs of socks coming your way.
Jay's amazing, and I will contact him as well and thank him, but thanks for showing it. And Jay, you're the man. Listen, that's 62 people, or half of that if they get 2 pairs of socks. And you know how long a pair of socks lasts. God bless you, man. Thank you. That's awesome.
All right, Odell Beckham now going to the Rams. That's something, huh? You look at what they have. They're loading up.
We were talking on my show this morning, and we said West Coast. We hit the Raiders. We kind of thought, well, would he be a Charger? 49ers could use a playmaker right now, right? We're going through all this.
Sure.
And, oh, by the way, we should have jumped all over the Rams thinking, well, Sean McVay and Les Snead are going after everybody. And you talk about trying to go after, this is the Yankees in a little bit lesser fat. They're going after all the stars. Right. If you've had history, we're going to get you. And you talk about a super team. Now, Beckham's got some stuff to prove, but what he does, he gives you another, if he's with his speed, Grant, we've talked about a little bit about this. If he's just even on the field and healthy and ready to go, you've got to at least respect him because of his speed and his ability. Now, can Sean McVay pull it out of him? Can the leadership keep him where he realizes that he's going to share it? Because Cooper Kupp's their best receiver, dude, and you got to deal with it. Now, can you free him up? Can you make, and on the surface, this looks like a great decision by the Rams, as long as he I don't even, malcontent may not be the right word, but he's a little disgruntled at times.
Right.
It's time for him to go in and realize it's time to be a great teammate and a great performer, even if you're not the star part of the puzzle. And I actually think it's a hell of a job by the Rams. They're going on and they're going to make you defend the whole field, half the parking lot, the locker room, and damn near the interstate with the weapons they keep getting on offense and defense. Yep. They are all in, and it's not going to cost them much. There's not a whole lot of risk, Grant. There's not a whole lot of risk.
No.
The reward outweighs the risk, at least now. Then we'll see where it goes from here. But I don't blame him. I do not blame him one bit for going, because if he's right, you got a home run hitter that'll stretch the field for Stafford.
Well, as you just said, Von Miller last week and now Odell Beckham this week. And Arizona has got the 1-game lead. The Cardinals have already won in LA against the Rams. That rematch is going to be pretty amazing when they play in Arizona. You've got the Rams this week, Monday Night Football, playing at San Francisco. To me, if the Niners, first of all, I don't think the Niners, I think they're pretty much out of it when I look at their team. You and I talked a little bit about this on Tuesday. That division, Seattle at 3-5. If they lose at Green Bay, they're done. Yeah, I don't think you're coming back from 3-6 this year in the NFC. So these are huge games for those two teams. Personally, I don't think it matters. I think San Francisco's done. I think they got too many issues. Seattle's hanging on by a thread. But with that said, boy, when you're hanging on by a thread and you have to go in and win a game at Lambeau, they better hope that Aaron Rodgers isn't playing, because to me, that's the only way they go in there and win that game.
Well, I can tell you this. If Rodgers is playing with the Rams against the 49ers, that thread that they're both hanging on, even though they got Russ Wilson in Seattle and San Francisco's got, the crazy thing about it is they got about 4, Deebo Samuel and Fred Warner. They've got some studs at certain positions, but it hadn't come together. That string's going to get cut because the Rams are going to beat the 49ers. And I can tell you this, if Aaron Rodgers is playing in Lambeau, you know how the scorekeeper is. He's going to make sure that just to get back at everybody, because that's the way it is. If all things are that, then both those teams are going to eliminate themselves for the most part this weekend.
Let me ask you, not a lot of people can answer this question, but you can. A quarterback that's kind of cooped up in his house for 10 days, assuming that on Saturday he gets the clearance, will he be totally effective on Sunday?
I'm not worried one bit about his timing, Grant. This is Aaron Rodgers. If it was a guy who had 3 starts and you bring in a new guy in and you're coming off and the effects of, like, if he had like some COVID effects where he was sick, right? And like, oh man, how is he going to be? Where's his energy? Aaron Rodgers is not going to have any other game this year like you saw the opener against the Saints. He's not going to play like that.
No way.
He will not play that bad. So, and an 80% Aaron Rodgers is good enough to win a lot of games, right? So I'm not worried about, listen, he can close his eyes and know where Devontae Adams is going to be. He gets it. He understands they're running the ball pretty effectively now. They got a couple two-headed monster now, right? They're running it pretty damn well. So with Dillon and Jones. So I would expect, unless the defense forces Aaron Rodgers into a bad way, meaning the Seahawks defense can raise their game, 10 days off. Matter of fact, 10 days off may be a bonus for him. I'll tell you what, fresh. He gets another it's like Brady. Whenever you start to say, oh, he's done, he comes out and goes and wins an MVP or another Super Bowl. Rodgers, just when you piss him off enough, even though he may have pissed off a bunch of people, he loves this stuff because he's going to make everybody have to talk about him in the football way, right? And so, listen, Russ Wilson and him, if they're both dueling it out, if Russ can play for now, Russ can go win anywhere. But the Packers are a better team than the Seahawks. And I would fully expect, if Aaron Rodgers goes in Lambeau, that the Seahawks are going to be in a major chase mode the whole year. And if the Rams play good football, the way the 49ers have been up and down, I'm not sure the 49ers can handle the Rams.
You and I talked some college football on Tuesday, and now with the poll, Georgia 1, Alabama 2, Oregon 3, Ohio State 4, Cincinnati is 5. Here's the question: is Oregon and Ohio State each have 1 loss? Oregon's loss was against a bad Stanford team. Ohio State lost at home to Oregon, so to me it's a no-brainer. Oregon won in Columbus. They should be ranked higher. Now let's get to Michigan and Michigan State. Each have 1 loss. Okay, Michigan lost at Michigan State. Michigan State had a bad loss this last week to Purdue, but again, they have identical records with 1 loss. Why is Michigan ahead of Michigan State? I don't understand it.
Because they're playing a little bit of a guessing game too. That's why emotion does come into it for those 13 committee members, Grant. You and I both know, oh, no, but you're damn right it comes into it. From eye test to everything. I don't know. It's the Harbaugh factor. I mean, it was a close game. Michigan State handled Michigan, and they got beat, Purdue's, got their moments, right? I don't know if you're going by the rules, and yet an Oregon lost to a Stanford team that's not been very good, and with the Purdue and Michigan State, right. I mean, the balance, I'm trying to figure out.
The same thing.
If you do exactly the same thing. Neither one of them are going to the Final Four. Neither one of them are going to win the Big Ten or the Pac-12, meaning Stanford or Purdue. Both of them are capable of a really good game, right? Or 2 throughout the year. Sure. Both of them are well coached. And I'm sitting here thinking, I'm saying the same thing. So what's the difference? Explain to me. They don't know. And they can't give me a fair answer, right? Oh, well, this loss was more, that loss more important. You got beat. One got beat by Purdue, one got beat by Stanford. Okay. And over the course of the last 2 decades, if we're going on history, Stanford's been a better school than Purdue has. If you're going by that, hell, I don't know. And I didn't think that last year or 4 years ago mattered to this year. It's what you see this year. And if we're going by head to head and how we talk about that being a important part of this thing, I don't know how Michigan's ahead of Michigan State, other than on, Grant, I hate to say it, on history and reputation.
If you and I talked about Oklahoma on Tuesday, if they win at Baylor, okay, I think they're ranked 13th, and then they go and win at Oklahoma State, two highly ranked teams, that would be 2 wins on the road running the table. If that happens, I don't see how they're not in the Final Four. I think they will have earned it. If Oklahoma's undefeated, I don't know how the committee keeps them out of the top 4 spots.
They can't. Well, I'm going to ask you right now. Oklahoma's undefeated now. Why is a one-loss team ahead of them?
Great question. I don't have
of
the
a Power
answer to that.
5. It's a Power 5 conference, right? It's not. I understand.
Right.
Cincinnati. I can make a case. I get it. I get that. But
Right. I guess the only ranked team they've really beaten was Texas, so I get that. But the schedule, though, go ahead. At Baylor this weekend and at Oklahoma State in 3 weeks, if they win out, they got to be a top 4 team.
And they got to get Iowa State in there too. It's I think
yes, in between. Yes,
right. So, and they're no joke. I mean, Iowa State
Correct.
can beat you, as they've proven on some teams as well. Texas got a load of that last week. And when Oklahoma played Texas, monster lead. Texas was playing really good football, and Oklahoma beat them with a backup quarterback who's now become a Heisman Trophy candidate, and put the Spencer Rattler on the sideline. So if they do this, Grant, if they go undefeated, you have to bypass everybody.
You like Baylor this week? I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I bet you're picking Baylor this week, right?
I'm. You know what? I'm gonna make my final choice tomorrow. But right now, on the surface, for me, after what Dave Aranda's team went through last week in that trap game, which I friggin' hate that phrase,
right.
but it got him. This is going to be in Waco. This is going to be a very difficult game for Oklahoma. And so I actually think that the committee is probably sitting there saying, well, I know they win it. They've went through a lot of changes. It's Oklahoma. I know it's a Power 5, but we like Oregon a little bit better, which is still odd to me because the Pac-12 is not exactly loaded with great scheduling this year. It's not like Oregon's played a bitch-ass schedule this year. They played Ohio State. Nobody else is really good. And even though they got beaten one game by Stanford, they're still, it's not really a good conference this year. So yes, if I write today, if you said, Sean, you got to bet today, I don't even know what the spread, I would take Baylor. But if Oklahoma runs this, you can't keep them out. They're going to start to jump teams in the Power 5 with one loss. But if we're going by the committee, well, it's a Power 5 team. They're undefeated. They've come from behind. They've got a Heisman Trophy winning, exciting, all the things you want. Yet you got to see more. But we didn't need to see more from Oregon, and we haven't needed to see more from Michigan. And Ohio State got the one loss, and theirs was in their friggin' building. So I get it, and all this comes into play. But you will not. Oklahoma goes undefeated. Oklahoma will be in the Final Four. Period.
Well, here's the deal: if Alabama wins the SEC championship against Georgia, assuming they play, they're clearly going to be in the top 4. Both of those teams. If Oklahoma runs out, they're going to be one of the teams. And if Ohio State runs out, so you can, under that scenario, you can say goodbye to Oregon. They'll be knocked out, and you can keep Cincinnati out. There's no way in the world they're going to put Cincinnati in the top 4. So I'm not saying that's going to happen. But if Oklahoma runs out and Ohio State ends up with one loss, they're in. And if Alabama loses to Georgia, I know you and I they're out. I know you thought maybe there's a chance. I don't think there's any way in the world.
They'll banter about it, but they'll be out. 2 losses, they'll be especially this year looking at their defense. If Alabama loses in the SEC championship game to them and they're undefeated, I mean, they have one loss until then, Alabama's done. They won't get the Nick Saban two win factor. Yet they haven't been that impressive in the last in a handful of games. But you're like, they're still number 2 in the country. Well, why isn't one of these other teams? It's weird, the dynamic. But Grant, let me ask you this, though. We automatically assume, okay, and I'm just saying, I'm with you on what you said, but why then, if Oregon runs the table and wins the Pac-12 championship, and Ohio State with one loss runs the table and wins the Big Ten championship?
Strength of schedule.
And Oregon and Ohio State, and Oregon beat Ohio State. And Oregon's ahead of Ohio State as we sit. So Ohio State gets to jump them. Is that correct?
That's correct. Well, you tell me. I mean, we'll
Big
never
Ten's
know
a better
this.
Conference. Right.
We'll never
Big
know
Ten's a
this.
better conference.
We'll never know this. But if Oregon played Ohio State's schedule, would they only have one loss?
Probably not. Oh, the way the Pac-12, no. But they don't play Ohio State's schedule. That's what they got to. I'm with you.
I know.
Big Ten's a better conference than the Pac-12. There's no question.
Are you in favor?
If
are you in
head-to-head
favor?
matters, head-to-head matters, Oregon's going to be like, what the hell are you guys talking about?
In Columbus.
In their building.
In Columbus.
Right. Yeah. And we showed that our team speed matches their speed. Right. So what were you going to say? Do I buy into what?
Are you in favor of adding more teams, or do you think no matter how many teams we add to the college football playoff, we're going to have the same problem every year?
I'm okay adding teams. I'm okay with 4 more for sure. 16 seems watered down to me, Grant, a little bit. I know in basketball that can happen. I don't see a 5 seed going throughout a playoff, or a 4 seed in 16 teams. I don't see how you'd have to go through Alabama, Georgia, to get and do. Football's a different egg, man. You get a hot shooter in basketball, as you know, a star. One guy can carry you to like Steph Curry did, taking his college team. That can happen. In football, the physicality part of it starts to wear down. If somebody's the 16th seed, you may get one of those. You may upset somebody in the first round, but the way you're going through it, I'm okay with 8 teams because while you may not win a title, but who's 8th right now, Grant? I know they got the 6th. I don't even remember who the 8th team is right now. Who's after Michigan?
Well,
after
it's
Cincinnati.
Michigan is 6th. Michigan State is 7th, and 8th is. I'll look it up while we're talking.
Not a big deal. I mean, 8th would be. I'm trying to think of conferences. 8th, is it Baylor? No, it can't be Baylor, right?
No, Baylor's 13th.
It's not Wake Forest because they got beat.
No. Is it Notre Dame?
Maybe. Yeah. I think you may be right. It might be the Fighting Irish. Now, on the right day, in their building, even though it wouldn't be if they were the 8th seed, Notre Dame, a historic program, could give you fits. So you get me to 8 teams, I'm good. Because then you really got to earn your way, Grant, to win. You don't just have to win one to get to the final. You have to win a couple. I'm okay with 8 teams because I do believe
Oklahoma.
The 5th teams.
It's Oklahoma.
Well, there you go. Oh yeah, how do we leave them out in the front? That's okay.
Because we're idiots.
Right. And yet we're trying to make a pine for them to be in the top 4. We don't even have them in the top 8. So think about that with that quarterback. If they're the 8th seed and Lincoln Riley gets rolling, you're telling me they can't go in and score with beat Ohio State? Exactly. Or listen, Oklahoma plays Oregon today. Oklahoma's going to give them all they can handle, right? Even though Oregon's a good team, because they got team speed as well. So I'm good with 8, Grant. And matter of fact, I'm going to say this, money-wise and for the thrill of it all, we have to change this to 8 teams sooner than later. I'm all for 8. I don't think 4 is enough. I think 16 is too many in my mind, at least now. I could be convinced 16 seems like too many. 8, or if you want to add a few more after that, fine, with bye weeks and the rest of it. But I'm okay with 8 teams. I don't think 4 is enough.
I want to put a ribbon on the baseball season. We didn't do this the other day, and we missed the show on Thursday after the World Series. You're in Houston. Dusty's coming back. I love that. I think Dusty should come back. What about Correa? Is he going to be wearing an Astros uniform next year?
No, he's going to be gone, Grant. Here's why. And I'm happy. You and I both love Dusty. I want him just as bad as I wanted Andy Reid to win one, as I've told you. I call him the Andy Reid of Major League Baseball. And there's no sweetheart, better guy, and more liked guy in all of baseball. People love his ass, and I do too. And he's always been good to me. The Correa's not going to be here. Here's why, Grant. Their last offer was, and he had a really good season. He's the leader of the team. And he plays a premium position. Their last offer was what they got to, 5 for $160. So that's that comes out to $30 million a year, I guess is what it is, right? Isn't that right, Grant? 30,
a little more than
32,
well, like
32 million, 31, 32, right
Right.
around 32 a year. And Jim Crane just doesn't usually, Springer got away.
I know.
Crane just doesn't. They have the money. Here's the problem. Now they may even go to 6 years and go to 320, 34 million a year.
Right.
Here's the problem. And they're never getting to 10 years. And Correa is going to the Texas Rangers. The Yankees are always going to be in play. The Seattle Mariners are going to be. There's 4 or 5 teams that are going to. Hell, the Red Sox may be able to play. Move Devers to first base, send Bogarts to third, take Correa there, made for Fenway Park. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? A wealth of. You don't want to hear that as a Yankee guy.
No, I don't want to hear that. You're ruining my night.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Where you go into teams that have money and we're creating. The Rangers are going to try to go all Alex Rodriguez on him with that. Make that the face of the franchise. They're going to come up with something. They are. Matter of fact, that's been a big talk here that the Rangers have already started the process. Now, whether that's true or not, but he's Grant. You tell me. When people say, "Well, why wouldn't he stay here? He loves Houston. Got a chance to win." Of course he does. Well, what's the difference? He's making 32 a year. Well, I can tell you what the difference is. 32 million a year, 4 more years.
Yeah,
is 130 million bucks. Nobody, not you, not me, not anybody.
Yep.
I'll go back and vacation and see the fans in Houston. So it's no hard feelings. The bottom line is I'll tell you this, Grant, I wouldn't give him a 10-year deal. Tatis got his long-term deal, but he's 21. The last 3 years of those type of deals just don't work out, in my opinion.
Yep.
And I love Correa, but Seager's going to be available. We know Simeon's available. He hits 40 plus home runs. It's a wealthy position. The shortstop position is free agents. Correa's not going to be a Houston Astro unless all of a sudden somebody shocks us. He's going to end up somewhere else because they're not going to give him, even if they got the 7 years, he's going to take a 10-year contract somewhere else. Good problem to have for him.
Is that a humidor behind you?
Humidor, about 200 cigars in there.
Wow.
I got my Yellowstone bourbon up here for you as we get prepared for the season. Have you watched Yellowstone? Do you watch?
No, I haven't, but everyone tells me I need to, so I'm going to. I know, because I know. I'm behind the times.
I quit. I'm done with you. Dude, you got to go binge watch this shit.
I know.
I'm saying about talk Correa, and I can see your eyes shift to my humidor. Or get on a plane and get your ass here. We'll binge watch it again. Yeah. We'll drink the Yellowstone bourbon. I got cigars for you. My outdoor kitchen's done tonight. The taps are in. It's all here for you with 4 TVs.
I'll buy the tomahawks.
Yes, and we'll grill them out there. Listen, man, I'm a simple dude. Give me an outdoor kitchen and this, and you. Right. What else do I need? And my dogs and my girl. What else do I need, man? But I can tell you,
you don't need anything else.
Always welcome here.
Hey, Howard.
That's right.
Thank you.
I don't need you drive all the cars. I'll just give me my motorcycle. The rest of you can have and a bed. Shit, I know what it's like to sleep in the back of a truck. Give me a cozy. I'm in. I don't really give a shit. But I know this. Yes, it's a humidor, and no, Correa is not going to be here. But let's get to real stuff. The humidor more than Correa. He's just going to have enough to buy the humidor company after this contract's done. But it's going to be somewhere else, my man. He'll go make a difference somewhere else.
How's your new pup?
Go get a shortstop.
How's your new pup?
About 50 pounds. His name is Kilo. He's a full-bred American bully, and he's everybody's afraid of him. Yet he's the nicest, sweetest. They're such a sweet breed, but you train him right. When people, they realize like when you're like walking him, they like take a roundabout because he got a big old head, a jaw, teeth, and he's got the look like get anywhere near my owner. And that esophagus is going to be chewed out. That's how he's got the look. And then he wants to hug you, and he jumps up on me like a Scooby-Doo does. Or like, what reminds me of? Dino on Fred Flintstone, how he jumps out and he tackles Fred and then locks Fred out of the house, right? And Fred's yelling, Wilma. That's my new dog. There. And I got another one that's a Shih Tzu Maltese mix named Patron. Okay. Wow. And it's about a 60-pound, 50-pound difference. And she like goes nose to nose with him because she's trying to saying this is her lair and this is her place. So I'm going through that. And other than that, dude, the cigar and a little Yellowstone bourbon and outdoor steak with you and the peeps, I'm good to go, brother. Life's good.
I'm going to be getting on the air. I'm going to be looking at all the airlines to Houston. Hey, listen, man, this was a great show. I really appreciate it. Have a super weekend. We'll do it again on Tuesday, man, and stay safe.
Hey, when are we going to announce a basketball game together on this network? Honestly, watching a hoops game and talk about it. Because I'm going to prove to you that I can be an analyst in a hoops team, that they can put me on TNT with Barkley and I can still prove it. I know you can, but this is my love, and I'm going to prove to the people that are like, damn, this guy likes this much hoops. I'm in. Fuck that football stuff. Let's go with the
shit. Let's pick a game out and do it. I'm ready, man.
I'm all in. And we'll pick a LeBron game just so we can I'm a Laker fan, but he made it difficult. We'll pick a LeBron game just so we can talk about other shit while we're watching him, dunk on somebody or something. Fair enough?
I'm all in, man. You're the best. Love you. We'll talk to you Tuesday.
You're the best, brother. Thank you. I always love doing it. I look forward to my Tuesdays and Thursdays with you. Thanks, man.